Welcome back. We are on our third recording for our lecture for this week. There's going to be 4 recordings this week because the first one was so short and the fourth one will be very short as well. So we were talking about agents of socialization. If you could go ahead and grab your lecture quizzes, pause, go get your lecture quizzes. Pretty soon here I'm going to give you another quiz response. So there are many other agents of socialization for our cultures, such as our peer groups, the mass media, religious organizations, daycare centers, sports teams that you're part of, the government, the workplace. All of these act as agents of socializations, or sorry, I need to pause here and take a sip of drink. All of these act as agents of socialization to help us learn the norms and the social roles and the values and beliefs in our culture. One of the ones that has been in the news a lot this week is social media. And social media is a somewhat new agent of socialization, which prompts, altogether new norms and ways of acting. A lot of you probably laugh at your parents for not knowing sort of the rules and the ins and outs and the norms and the ways of acting in, in social media. One of the ones that's been in the news a lot this week has been Facebook. So that's actually the answer to quiz question 3, which social media platform did your instructor discuss as an agent of socialization? As Facebook. Facebook has been in the news a lot this week because Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, has been testifying before government about how Facebook has been using data to honestly manipulate its users into thinking one way or another about different issues. And this is socialization. They are using the tools of socialization in order to do so. If it's not inherent to us or biological, then it's socialization. So I can't really explain the way that they do it, but they manipulate the Facebook timeline in such a way that you start to believe that some things are more important than others. And this is honestly all in the name of business. It's helping them to satisfy their customers who have ads and stuff on Facebook. So social media is definitely an agent of socialization as well. Okay, we're going to shift gears here and talk about just briefly about statuses and roles. Let me go back here. So this is important because it's on your response journal this week. But a status is a position in society that comes with a set of expectations. So a status is anything like you're a student, or I'll say some of my statuses. I'm a instructor. I'm a female. I'm a mother. I'm a knitter. I'm a beach lover. I'm a dog owner. Some of these are some of my statuses. Ascribed statuses are those that we are born with and that are unlikely to change. Ascribed statuses are usually, but not always, your gender or your sex at birth, your race. Also, like if you are a daughter or a son, these are statuses that you were given at birth, that you didn't have any hand in whatsoever. Although as far as gender goes, we will be talking about that. It's not quite as simple as that. So we'll be discussing that in a couple weeks. Achieved statuses are those that we have earned through individual effort, or those that are imposed by others in just getting to know us. So me being a dog owner, that's an achieved status. It's something that I wanted to do, and so I got a dog. Me being a parent is an achieved status. I wasn't born being a parent. Being a neighbor is an achieved status. Being a granddaughter, this is an ascribed status. So you can see the ones you're born with are ascribed, and the ones that you are not born with, that you achieve over time, are achieved statuses. Roles are the behaviors that are expected from a particular status. So for instance, as an instructor, my status as instructor has many different roles. I grade papers, that's one of my roles. I hold office hours and talk to students, that's one of my roles. I give lectures. These are some of my roles. And all of our statuses have different roles. Sometimes our roles come into conflict. Sometimes roles within one status, or sometimes roles between two statuses conflict. For instance, this used to happen to me a lot when my son was really little, where I was a parent and also an instructor. And so sometimes my role as a parent, which is to take care of my son when he's sick, if he was sick, but I was in class giving a lecture, talking, then I wouldn't know what to do. I would have a conflict, right? What do? Do I stay at work, or do I go take care of my son? And so I would go take care of my son usually. So that's called role conflict. And in your response journal this week, I ask you about role conflict, to talk about a time when you've had role conflict where two of your statuses have conflicted. This is really simple for students because almost all statuses conflict with your status of student, right? Role strain occurs when roles associated with a single status clash, and that happens a lot too. So, for instance, if you are a student in a sociology class and you're also a student in an English class, and let's say you're also on a sports team for Ohlone College, well, maybe you have practice and that gets in the way of studying for your English exam. So that would cause role strain because it's within the one status of being a student. Either of these may lead to role exit, which might mean that you give up. You either give up one of your roles, or you might even give up a status altogether. So last week we talked about culture, and this week we're talking about socialization. It's very important, and actually this is a question on your discussion assignment this week. It's very important to recognize the connection between culture and socialization. Socialization is the process, as I already mentioned, by which a society transmits its cultural values to its members. So socialization may also be thought of as the mechanism by which we learn our culture. We can't learn our culture without socialization. It's kind of the way that you feel when you go to a different country and everybody's really different from you and you don't know how to act in the appropriate way. The only way that you can figure out how to act is through socialization. Either someone directly teaching you or through watching the people around you. And the reason for this is because all of culture, as I mentioned last time, is socially constructed. And so that means it's different. All cultures are different from each other, and they all require some degree of socialization. So I'm not going to talk about this, but I'm going to post a video a little bit later talking about going to the movies. So look out for that movie because I really like that. It's a little video and I really like it. So cultural transmission is, again, just how we learn our culture, how we learn the arts of our culture, the music in our culture, our language, the way of dress, the food that we cook, through cultural transmission, through socialization. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about on this video, and I only have 5 minutes, is to talk about theoretical perspectives regarding socialization. So I already showed you the 3 important theoretical perspectives in sociology, so I'm going to just move on. So in functionalism, we want to ask, what function does socialization serve in society? And we would say it helps to maintain the social order by instilling cultural norms and values. According to conflict theory, socialization is a process in which individuals are assigned to different, unequal, and competing groups. Socialization plays a key role in maintaining the dominance of the powerful. In other words, according to conflict theory, the way things are in our culture benefit the ruling classes. This is according to conflict theory. And socialization teaches us those ways, and so it helps maintain things as they are. And so it maintains the dominance of the ruling class and the powerful through that method. Symbolic interactionism is related to social constructionism, which we have been talking about before. Symbolic interactionism is associated with the work of George Herbert Mead and Charles Horton Cooley. This is your question 4 coming up. Charles Horton Cooley and George Herbert Mead were contemporaries and they knew each other. They both worked at the University of Michigan, but George Herbert Mead was a philosopher while Charles Horton Cooley was a sociologist. So the answer to this quiz question 4 is false. I'm talking fast because I want to get to here. So I want to suggest that you read about symbolic interactionism in your textbook. Pay special attention to the work of George Herbert Mead on symbolic interactionism in your textbook because it will be on your exam and I don't have enough time to talk about it today. But I will talk about one symbolic interactionist theory from Charles Horton Cooley. This is the theory of the looking glass. Cooley came up with this little poem that he says, if I can find it. So he says, I'm going to pause here. So Cooley's poem says, each to each a looking glass reflects the other that doth pass. And with this little poem called a couplet, he described his theory of socialization. The first part is that we imagine how we appear to those around us. In other words, we look into a looking glass and we imagine how we appear to others. Then we interpret their reactions to us. We come to some conclusions about how others evaluate us. Do they like the way that we look? Do they like how funny we were with that joke, or do they dislike us for it? And then the third is we develop a self-concept through this act of socialization based on our interpretation of the reactions of others. So we're developing a self-concept based on this sort of looking glass thing. It's like we're looking at ourselves through the mirror, but the mirror is not the mirror. It's actually what those around us are reflecting back to us. So we develop a self-concept based on our interpretations of the reactions of others. We develop feelings and ideas about ourselves. And so this they provide a social mirror. Okay, I have one more video to do, but it will be a short one, so we'll go on to number 4 next.